UKMP responds to question concerning British OTs amidst COVID-19. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.
Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And I am Javon Wilson. So thrilled to be joining you for another great week of 284 News. Now, Kyla, we're hearing some good news from the government of the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, so basically the government of the Virgin Islands basically announced that curfew will be extending, meaning that persons would have more time now in the day to do what is needed to be outside. So now curfew as of Sunday will be from 7 p.m. in the night to 6 a.m. Those are the times that persons are expected to be inside. So from 6 a.m. every day to 7 p.m., persons can go about business, of course, doing the regular and the new norm. But I think this is great news for the people of the Virgin Islands. Of course, the Premier basically said that this was made possible by the aggressive approach that the government took very early on here. So really great news.
Really great news indeed. And I know, Kyla, many persons across the territory can attest to the fact that persons would have been in line from as early as 6 a.m. daily and would have complained about the 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Time that was attributed for us to get out and utilize those essential services. So again, welcome news from the government of the Virgin Islands to the residents. And I know persons are really happy now that they'll be able to at least have some more time to utilize those services.
And the Premier is basically saying that this would take effect on Sunday for the next 14 days. So here we see the government taking an approach step by step, every 14 days, something new being implemented. So definitely great news, Javon.
Certainly, and one step closer back to normalcy. Now, while that is good news for the territory, today, Kyla, the BVI also received unwelcome news. We now have a 7th victim who has tested positive for COVID-19. Viewers, this was announced today by the Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, Honorable Carvin Malone. Let's listen in.
Over the course of the past week, as per the protocol established, 21 samples from the British Virgin Islands were sent to the Caribbean Public Health Agency in Trinidad for testing and confirmation. I am reporting that while 20 of the samples were tested as negative, there exists one of the samples that was confirmed as positive for the virus that caused COVID-19. These findings were consistent with local lab results, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases recorded in the territory to 7, with 3 confirmed recoveries, 3 active cases, and 1 loss of life to the disease. Case number 7 is linked to a previously detected case, was quarantined, and had tested negative on the first protocol of testing. It is common that in the early stages of the infection, the virus that causes COVID-19 could go undetected. In this regard, the person was kept under quarantine for the full duration of the incubation period and was retested in accordance with established protocols. This patient has exhibited only mild symptoms and will be kept in isolation.
So, Kyla, the minister highlighted that this person would have initially tested negative, and at that point, of course, probably not showing any symptoms, but it's a very important and critical point I want us to pause on for a minute. Now, viewers, just about 2 weeks ago, I had the honor of sitting down with Ms. Dana Campo, a resident of the BVI, who happens also to be a reporter from BVI Beacon, who too would have exhibited extreme symptoms of COVID-19 at the time she was tested, but strangely, that test turned out negative. She walked us through the grueling process of not only being sick, but also getting tested. And that interview, viewers, is available via our Facebook page for those of you who would like to review it. But a very important point here, Kyla, the 7th victim initially tested negative. Now, we've been hearing about the term false negatives, which I want to bring some attention to today. And for those of you who do not know, this is a test result that indicates that a person does not have the virus when the person actually does have it. In my interview with Dana, we spoke about that. And today, Kyla, we see yet another case which could have been deemed a false negative. I know the situation with this victim, Kyla. We're hearing that this 7th victim was linked to one of the previous cases we've had. In Dana's case, she was sick, but not necessarily linked to one of the confirmed cases. So I'm assuming because this specific 7th case was linked to a previous case, it would have warranted more testing in that case. But it's just a really scary reality to think about, Kyla.
Most definitely, Javon, the fact of false negatives, as you said, it is scary to really think about it, because when someone may think that they are out of the woods as it relates to COVID-19, then here you go, seeing symptoms and then boom, a positive. But one thing that we must commend the government for, that Honorable Malone basically said that this person was quarantined during this period.
Thankfully.
So although they did have a false negative, they were quarantined during that time. So that's awesome. But at the end of the day, this might happen to others, and they might be out in the public infecting others. But this is not the reality with this one. So we must say thank God in this instance.
Certainly, but false negatives is a reality, viewers. For those of you who do not know, Google is free. You are free to look up the term and understand in some countries nearly 1/3 of test results return as false negatives.
Right.
What we're really happy for in the case with Dana Campo is that even though she was taken off a quarantine in about 7 days because her results returned negative, we're grateful that she remained in isolation, because she understood her symptoms. She was very aware, and in her opinion, may have had the COVID-19 virus.
And I think it really and truly shows persons that we have to be careful,
Yes.
very, very careful. Although if you even have any signs or being infected or near to someone who have tested positive for, although you might have tested negative for it in the first instance, it is very important to just be very, very careful.
Absolutely. So viewers, in summary, we now have a total of 132 persons that were tested, with 125 deemed negative, 7 deemed positive, 3 cases recovered, 3 active cases, and of course there remains 13 persons in quarantine. The health minister further said that it is safe to say that the Ministry of Health's case finding, contact tracing, monitoring, and quarantine efforts are achieving the intended result of reducing your risk of exposure to active cases of COVID-19. Viewers, again, you are reminded that anyone exhibiting symptoms, whether it is fever, cough, headache, fatigue, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, muscle aches, or difficulty breathing, you are encouraged, please, to call the health hotline at 852-7650. So Kyla, my goodness, just as we were celebrating government's decision to further relax that curfew come this weekend, here we see another case of COVID-19 again being confirmed in the BVI today. I think we're at a point, though, where it is somewhat expected, even as we embrace a phased reopening. But I think what's of paramount importance is us as a territory really learning to, instead of reacting to the situation, learning to manage the situation. I think that will mean us pushing again for a full internal reopening to support the flow of money. It will mean us supporting the economy, but more importantly, policing ourselves, whether it be our masks, our sanitization measures, or social distancing. It's at a point where I don't think we can run from the reality that more persons will become infected. If they don't, thank God, but I really believe that we're better off managing the situation, because I think this is going to be around for a very long time.
Most definitely, Javon. And as you said, here we see, and our government have adopted a new catchphrase. Some persons say,
yes.
We are not out of the woods yet.
Yes.
And it's very, very true, because as soon as you think we are, heading towards better ground, and which we are, don't get me wrong, here is unwelcome news that came out of just nowhere.
Yes.
And like you said, we must most importantly to police ourselves and make sure that we are engaging in social distancing, and because you just never know.
Definitely. It will require a holistic effort, not just the government, not just the health officials, but we, the people of the BVI, who continue to embrace those measures in place.
Most definitely. But as we move on, Javon, now, if the residents of the BVI and other overseas territories were wondering what is the UK current stance on assisting OTs during the global pandemic, well, we may have just gotten our answer. Partially, I mean. The UK government's position on this was revealed by British Member of Parliament MP Wendy Morton in her response to a question posed by MP Stephen Dufar. MP Stephen posed a question on April 27th to the Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs. He asked what support the government is providing to help the UK overseas territories' response to the health, economic, logistical, and transport effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Javon, this is a really good question, a question that have been lingering in the air since the COVID-19 entered the shores of the Caribbean. Now, MP Wendy Morton responded with a written statement published May 4th on the UK Parliament website. MP Morton firstly assured that she assured the UK Parliament that the Minister for the Overseas Territories and Sustainable Development is in regular contact with the political leaders and governors of these territories. She went on to expound on ways that the UK is helping the OTs. She said that the UK government is providing support to strengthen territories' public health systems through provisions of essential medical supplies, equipment, and personnel. She further said that the UK government has organized flights to enable British nationals to return to the UK from the overseas territories and to enable a number of British nationals in the UK to return to their homes in the territories. The flights also will carry medical equipment to the said territories. MP Morton went a step further in saying, just as the UK is doing, they are looking to overseas territories to make full use of their financial resources in order to address the needs of the people. Javon, as she so rightfully stated in her statement, the impact of this pandemic in the territories, it definitely varies. We could look at some statistics as it pertains to the number of COVID cases in the different OTs. Here we see Anguilla with just 3 confirmed cases to date. And as we go on, Cayman, Turks, it varies just across the board, especially the OTs that are here in the Caribbean. And basically she said, due to the variation in cases and impact, the UK cannot apply a one-size-fits-all approach. MP Morton said the UK government's support is calibrated according to each territory's impact. Now, Javon?
Interesting. Kyle, I know this is a question as a territory we've been waiting on the answer. Like you said, a lot of persons are looking to the UK because as a British overseas territory, we stand to inherit a lot of things. Do we get to that? Not necessarily. One of the things we want to reflect on is the fact that ever since Irma and Maria, the BVI has been waiting on substantial help from the United Kingdom. A lot of persons are disgruntled about the fact that not enough came and spoke out against that. One thing I recognize with the government is that it prides itself in what we've been able to do thus far for ourselves in light of the fact that this is a pandemic and all countries across the board are affected and are working with limited resources. The government, for example, have mentioned that $12 million already have been injected to ensure that medical professionals are trained, to ensure that the isolation unit and other facilities were retrofitted to make way for us to take care of COVID positive cases in the territory. We've also ordered our own test kits. So when it comes to self-sufficiency, so far, the government of the Virgin Islands, based on our reserves and what we can do, they have been doing a really great job. As it relates to what we can expect from the UK, that still remains questionable at this time. And like you said, it varies according to the territory. I know for sure that just about 1,500 test kits were sent down by the United Kingdom, but beyond that, we're not sure what else we can expect.
As you said, we've seen little efforts from the United Kingdom's government, but this answer alone, Javon, kind of shows that it's a bit vague.
It is.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see just a little more, or this might just be our answer. So viewers, still ahead. Education Minister responds to explicit messages thread that went viral among the student body, and Norwegian Cruise Line expresses fear in their future ability to operate. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
Eco? 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 Everyone is speaking about eco-friendly products. We wanted to take the time to introduce the Eco Island brand. Eco Island is a brand dedicated to providing you with a reliable and cost-effective solution. Eco-friendly products for your restaurant, hotel, bar, office, and home. With takeaway trays, bags, cups, paper straws, cutlery, and cleaners. For more information, follow us at Eco Island 100.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, yesterday, parents in the British Virgin Islands took to social media to voice their disgust on indecent messages being sent by students via the newly implemented virtual education system. The students were greeted by a stream of expletives in their inbox from other students. Now, in an invited comment, the Minister for Education, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, said that the matter has been dealt with. Listen in.
In January 2018, the ICT unit of the Ministry of Education sent an email giving instructions on how to log on to the online learning hub. On the morning of Monday, the 4th of May 2020, students who apparently gained access to their emails replied all to the message, which resulted in back and forth messages, some of which contained expletives. When the ICT unit of the ministry became aware of the situation, they took steps to disable the students' ability to send these messages. We apologize for any annoyance and feelings of discomfort that these inappropriate messages caused. The students will be disciplined accordingly.
So, Kyla, based on what we're hearing here, it was basically a blast mail that was sent out via the Learning Hub. The email went out to all the students with an account, and then we saw the students responding by clicking reply all. Now, the problem is the content. It was despicable, it was very disrespectful, and for me, it really spoke to the true reality of some of the struggles our teachers generally have to deal with when it comes to our students. Luckily, the ministry has addressed the specific issue of the email going viral in that manner, but I think this really exposed us to a bigger matter at hand. Our children are seemingly buying into, I think, a climate of disrespect. Now, the ministry's official response said that students will be disciplined accordingly, according to what you can see on the screen. At this point, Kyle, we're not sure what's within the confines of discipline. We're not sure exactly what measures will be implemented on those students. But a lot of parents have taken to social media and are now calling for the students in question, to issue a public apology. One person suggested that students should receive a 0 on their first assignment, and some going as far as to suggest suspension. Now, again, Kyla, we're not sure what will be done going forward. But again, this inappropriate language, for me, is just a reflection on not only themselves, but also their families, their schools, and the society at large. And I think, especially at this time, when we're fighting a national crisis, and we're looking for, our children and everybody, we need all hands on deck. We need positive minds on deck. And I think now more than ever, good character is very important as we face the challenges associated with COVID-19.
I agree, Javon. On social media, this, as you said, went viral. And we saw where some parents was actually blaming the ministry. And as you said, I think our students are just buying into a culture of disrespect in general. I think here, as you said, a national crisis, and the ministry, the government is doing the best that they can.
Yes.
But this behavior, it speaks to, as you rightfully said, the families, the school, the student, everyone, because this is something that we have to get a hold on as it relates to our young people, to think that this is okay. It doesn't matter if it was a mistake, they didn't know that it was going to the general thread,
It
if
cannot
it was
be condoned.
WhatsApp, it just cannot be condoned. So yes, most definitely, it was definitely despicable, to see yesterday just the responses that's coming from our young people here in the BVI, as we were supposed to be starting a new school term, trying something new, virtual learning. And this is the first thing that teachers, primary school students was greeted with first thing in the morning.
I'm hearing as young as 10 years old. And Kyle, I'm really happy that, you brought up the point of accountability, because I feel like when things like these happen, we always look for the next person to blame and not necessarily look to examine ourselves and our children and the roles that we play. And again, especially in these times, it will require a holistic effort. We cannot continue to blame each other. We really have to step up and do what we need to do and be as accountable as we need to be. I'm just really hoping that, and I think this is the sentiment of a lot of residents across the territory, that these students will be rightfully disciplined, because like I said, we cannot condone this type of behavior going forward.
I definitely agree. But as we move on, Javon, the Norwegian cruise line disclosed there is a substantial doubt surrounding the cruise line's ability to operate and make a profit. The coronavirus pandemic has wreaked havoc on the entire cruise industry. The coronavirus outbreak, including its effect on the ability or desire of people to travel, is expected to continue to impact NLC's results, operations, outlooks, plans, goals, growth, reputation, the cash flow, the liquidity, demand for voyages, and the share price, the company said in a securities filing published yesterday. They further said these factors have raised substantial doubt about the company's ability to continue as a going concern. And Javon, simply put, the company is having doubts of being able to operate and make a profit. The company also announced it expects to report a loss for the first quarter of 2020, which ended March 31st, and for the entire year. Javon, as we have seen over the course of the last few months, the coronavirus pandemic has brought the global travel industry to its knees. It has been at a standstill across the world due to the uncertainty surrounding the global pandemic and tight credit lines, as you can imagine. Norwegian is concerned about whether it will be able to find financing to help it weather a potential prolonged situation without any revenue. This situation actually hits closer to home, Javon, than we may actually think, because although we are talking about an international cruise line, Norwegian actually brings many passengers to the shore of the BVI. So we see where this is actually related to our tourism industry. And it's not just Norwegian, but all cruise ships across the line are just trying to weather this prolonged storm, as I said earlier.
It's a scary fact to examine, Kyla. Like you said, it trickles down to the British Virgin Islands, being that we are a territory that depends solely on the pillar of tourism.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things we recognize is that, like you said, Norwegian is one of the companies, one of the brands that brought a majority, probably or possibly the most passengers, tourists to the BVI via cruise. So this will definitely be of detriment to the BVI as we examine not only the bounce back to the travel industry, but building travel confidence, which is a conversation we have not even started as yet. Just getting persons to a point where they're even comfortable to travel again. And I think that will be one of the biggest cries coming from the travel industry, whether it be the cruise lines or the airlines. But definitely, for sure, we know that the tourism industry is nowhere close to effectively reopening.
I do agree. And Javon, just unfortunately, this is a cry of many businesses just across the globe. And as we know it, the business landscape will be very different post-COVID-19.
Certainly. Viewers, we're running out of time, but we're going to go for a very quick commercial break and coming right back.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, Kyla, I am so super excited to close off our very last segment with some great news. We are celebrating a really big win for the BVI. Now, Mr. Richard Georges, of course, very popularly known here at the BVI, the president of HLSCC, his book Epiphania is this year's winner of the 2020 OC Bocas Prize for Caribbean Literature. The announcement was made 2 days ago, May 2nd. In this year's competition, books were judged in 3 categories, that is poetry, fiction, both novels and collections of short stories, and literary nonfiction, including books of essays, biography, and autobiography, history, current affairs, travel, and other genres, which demonstrates literary qualities and use literary techniques regardless of subject matter. Now, there was a panel of 3 judges for each category who determined category shortlists and winners. Richard's book won the initial category for poetry. Now, the 3 category winners were then judged by a panel of 4 judges who eventually determined the overall winner, our very own Mr. Richard Georges. Now, this is a huge accomplishment for Richard, who in an invited comment said, quote, "I am honored, humbled, and full of gratitude for having won this award. I could not be prouder to have been spotlighted against the excellent and iconic writers Edwidge Danticat and Tessa Mackwat. This moment I see as a pivotal one for BVI literature to begin to take its rightful place in the Caribbean canon, and I look forward to using this opportunity to spotlight the work of my forebearers as well as younger, newer voices." Now, Kyla, sponsored by One Caribbean Media, the prize comes with an award of, get this, $10,000 US. That's $10,000, and will be presented, of course, to Mr. Georges at a special prize-giving ceremony during the annual festival that is now due to take place in September, having been postponed due to COVID-19. The other 2 category winners also won $3,000 each. So viewers, please join us in congratulating Mr. Georges on this incredible new accomplishment. I think while we celebrate this as a win for Mr. Georges, this is by default a win for the British Virgin Islands, and I think a true testament to the thriving literary culture that we have here in the British Virgin Islands.
Most
Kyla.
definitely, Javon. As you said, you're very, very, very proud of Dr. Richard Georges for all that he has done. Anyone that knows Dr. Georges know at the end of the day, he's just a humble individual, but so talented and such an intellectual. So we definitely want to say just great job and congratulations on this achievement.
And
so,
if you missed it, Vera, sorry to cut you, Kyle, if you missed it, Mr. Georges did an exclusive interview with our very own Ron Grant on the art of a distinguished gentleman. That was recently. So viewers, if you missed it, you're free to go ahead and review that interview via our 284 Media page.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, Javon. Persons who are not aware of who Dr. Georges is, I don't know how, but not aware of who he is, you truly get a true taste of his story and who he really is via that interview. So definitely go over to The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman and check out that interview. So viewers, of course, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. Of course, it's always a pleasure. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And my name is Javon Wilson. So thrilled to have been able to join you once again. You can join us again tomorrow, of course, for more honest, impartial news right here on 284 Media. Have a great balance of the evening, everyone.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.